The current growth of the medical, elective, and aesthetic industry is exponential. Since this industry is growing so rapidly, many physicians and providers are considering getting into this industry by opening or acquiring their own medical spa, wellness center, or functional elective practice. I've seen hundreds of doctors and nurse practitioners, as well as registered nurses, making the switch from the emergency room or general practice to this amazing industry. In this video, I'd like to share some important information if you are considering opening a new med spa or aesthetic practice, scaling your current practice, or selling your med spa or elective medical practice. Going through the process of starting, growing, or selling your med spa or elective medical practice can be quite an onerous process. Here are some of the critical steps you should take in order to maximize the value for your medical elective practice. Let's begin with starting a med spa or an elective medical practice. First thing, of course, is going to be creating your budget and your pro formas by service. This is going to help you identify what sorts of equipment you want to have, which services you're going to offer, and how many staff members it will take to create the business you desire to create. This can easily be done with a consultant like us, or there's other options out there, but the numbers are really critical for you to explore first before you begin the rest of the process. Many times this next will lead to getting a small business loan in order or looking at the startup cash required, along with exploring different vendors to partner with regarding the kind of equipment that you would like to get in order to get your med spa up and running. The next area, now that you've considered what equipment you want, the number of rooms you need, and the cash flow that you have available, then you can really decide what size, location, and space do you need to start with. If it has an ability to grow and expand, that's even better. Typically, I would say 3 rooms, 1,500 square feet to 2,000 square feet can easily accommodate $1 million facility if it's done correctly with the right mix of equipment and injectables in retail. We have to keep in mind how much revenue per hour can be generated when you make a selection for equipment and services, and this is critical. So those pro formas, when you put together your estimates of what the business is going to look like, has to be done by service, by staff, and capacity of the facility. It also needs to keep in mind how much does it cost to run each one of these services on the cost of goods side, because that can vary dramatically. So once you've done that and you've got an idea of, okay, here's what I want to do, here's how much space I need, begin looking for the space and negotiating for a lease in your area. You do not need the most expensive real estate available. You don't need a type A retail location necessarily. If you can find one, that's great. But typically these are known to be a destination rather than a drive-by sort of location. Fast foods, different stores and convenience items, you see it, you drop by, and you go there. With something like a med spa, different than a day spa or relaxation or more of a boutique, typically they're known as destinations. So you do need visibility, somewhere that's easy to find, ample parking, and overall use for your client base. And I would also suggest if you're going to do minimally invasive or any kind of surgical, that you have a private exit out the back or through a different exit for clients that may be coming out post-operation, because they typically don't want to go out through the lobby. Keep in mind, these are just the very tip of the iceberg when it comes to planning your business. Of course, you've got to create your marketing strategy, your position in the market, branding, what makes you unique, and how exactly you're going to position your particular med spa from a strategic standpoint in order to be successful in your marketplace. This often involves a competition analysis as well as looking at how you can create something unique in your community in order to be a draw to the potential patients and customers in your area. The next area to really explore is scaling. Say you're finally at $1 million, but you want to get to 3 or 4 million. Scaling, the important part of this is, again, going back to the numbers, understanding your numbers, and doing that by service and by appointment, by staff productivity, production by hour, multiples. There are industry standards and industry averages that you really need to understand. You can find these in the Top 10 Profit Killers books, many of our courses or our consultations, but it's important for you to make sure that your numbers, like your percent of labor costs, percent of your cost of goods, how much retail you're doing compared to your other services, and understanding, how much should my rent be as a percent of income? How much should my net profit be? So that you know where you're already doing good and where you know you can do better. So creating more volume without understanding your margins is not necessarily the most strategic way to approach this. So number one, we really need to look at your income divided by service, provider, and hour. And we need to look at your labor costs based upon a multiple production goal that are readily available for the industry. Next, we're going to examine cost of goods and make sure that you're keeping those costs as reasonable as possible, as low as possible. And then marketing return on investment, which is not the easiest thing to do. That takes a little bit of time and energy to really make sure you're getting at least a 4x multiple on your marketing efforts and that you're doing the right marketing to your internal as well as your prospective clients. And that brings us down to your overall profitability. And once you understand your financials, then you can look at a capacity analysis. Let's look at the facility and the number of rooms and the equipment that you have. Let's analyze whether you have your pricing structure correct and whether you're optimizing your current location or what opportunities might be right there and readily available in order to create another $1 million or $2 million worth of revenue. Many times this will be doing things like switching out some equipment, something with more of a higher hourly rate. Sometimes it is optimizing different staff members, making sure they're only doing their high and best services and that you have them scheduled appropriately. Overall, it's deciding where are the margins the best, what can you sell more of, and then changing your marketing and your staffing appropriately in order to achieve that. One of the ways I see that sort of growth is usually involving some sort of a membership, because membership really helps you do combination therapy. Combination therapy creates better client results, which does get you more referrals. Referrals are your highest closing kind of lead to get. Patient referrals are going to close at a much higher rate than a brand new prospective patient. And when you are doing combination therapy, not only does your retention go up, your marketing costs can come down, and that lifetime value per patient is going to increase exponentially. That's going to have a direct impact on your profitability and your percent of net income. So these things will work all together. And you can see how first analyzing what you're doing and what's going well, what's not, looking at your expenses, then getting into your production, your capacity, and the other ratios so that you can fine tune and optimize your current space and staff and see where you might need additional staff or additional equipment. And this comes down to things like your surgeons. If your surgeons are booked out 4 to 6 weeks or more, you'll probably need another surgeon or another day open, because you are going to lose clients if they can't get in for a consultation in the next 4 weeks and you can't get them onto a surgery schedule within 3 months. Many times they're going to go somewhere else. When you talk about toxins, if you can't get someone in the next 2 weeks, you are not needing to market more, you're needing to create more capacity and available appointments. So this is an important thing to understand. How long will people wait? And it does vary whether you're talking about aesthetics or surgery. And then how are your providers doing? You do need to really look at the length of time that it takes your different providers to do the same services, because there are amounts of time that they should be doing it in. And sometimes if they're taking too long to do that, that's going to have an impact on your overall revenue and of course your capacity. So these are the things we look at in terms of scaling. Of course, you're looking at your organizational chart, your position descriptions, how you are incentivizing your different staff members to optimize their performance. So all of those things really work together. And that is something that we do every day with practices. So, the VIP Inner Circle could be very beneficial to you for that, because the courses and the ongoing implementation to scale your business goes way beyond just the owner. So if you're in that point where you're ready to grow, much of it's going to be in training and analysis, but first the analysis so that you can identify the opportunities, which really brings me into getting ready to sell your business or looking to maybe buy an existing business. The numbers, the profit and losses, tax returns, these are all important. And you're going to do a similar approach to, okay, well, what do we think about this location? Is it easy to find? Is the signage good? What is the reputation like online of this practice? How many clients do they have? What is their retention rate? What is their average ticket sale? How much retail to revenue are they doing? And again, what is the capacity? How many rooms do they have? What can the revenue be? What capacity are they operating at? What are their different positions creating as far as a multiple? So that you can see what are they currently doing and what's the upside? How can you grow this, or how hard is it going to be to maintain this? Sometimes when the numbers are so good and they've got their profits up so high, their labor down so low, and it looks too good to be true, that is going to be very, very difficult to maintain. It really pays to have an expert come in that understands what numbers are realistic and what numbers are not realistic based upon industry averages, so that you can assess the opportunity. And that's the same even if you're getting ready to sell. having someone come in and help you create something like a membership that's going to increase your multiple and your valuation dramatically is well worth the time and energy. Also knowing that, of course, you want to have a high taxable income. You don't want to be putting more costs into the business than you need to drive your taxable income down 2 to 3 years before you sell your practice. Another tip when you're talking about optimizing and getting ready to sell and you want your valuation high, you would really consider, if you are doing minimally invasive or if you're a primary provider where you're doing a lot of the revenue, maybe you're a $3 million practice and you're doing 1.5 yourself with high-end energy services and injectables and liquid lifts, maybe it's not even surgical. The importance of bringing another provider in there that would have a high revenue as well, that's not just the owner, would be a smart move to do before you sell the practice. Because many times people will get nervous and the banks will get nervous about lending to a business when they know the primary revenue producer is going to be exiting out of the picture, which usually happens in 3 to 6 months, sometimes 9 to 12 months, but most of the time when you sell a business, within 3 to 6 months, you're kind of out of the picture, you're still available, and you're probably getting payments, but you don't really have control and you're not running the business at that point. So there's about 10 steps that we would walk you through to prepare to get ready to sell your business so that you could get your valuation where you want it to be, and more importantly, get the contract that you're looking for. And then lastly, it's the transition. Many people think it's hard to find a buyer to get the contract written up. You do need a CPA and an attorney and a banker and a consultant that knows the industry to pull a transaction together. But the hardest part of any merger or acquisition, whether you're selling or buying, is the dance that it takes to transition the new owners and the old owners in the responsibilities and the inventory. There are a lot of things that can go sideways quickly when you haven't been through that process before, because you just don't know what you don't know, and it can get very dicey. So you do need someone to coordinate that dance of transition so that everybody is happy and successful, because usually you're going to continue to get paid for a few years after you exit the business. So it's very rare that you're going to be cashed out completely. It's worth doing, but it's worth doing right. Remember, if you're looking for some advice or strategy, go to our website and book a complimentary consultation. Executive coaching or our on-site CEO quarterly program might be the solution that you need in order to buy, sell, or scale your med spa or medical elective practice.